All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So I'm going to cover three on this one. The first two will probably be on the same chapter, but we'll look at Lunar and Rocket Lab, and then I want to take a quick look at KULR. I haven't done that in a while. Really big news on both Lunar and Rocket Labs, and unfortunately, neither of them could really take good advantage of it. All right, so with Lunar, I'm going to talk a lot about the launch. I'm going to talk about the timing of the launch. Look, obviously, they're excuse me, they're not making decisions really for the ticker, right? But I was really disappointed that the launch was so far outside of trading hours. You know what I mean? Like, come on, just make it a couple hours earlier so that we can trade during the day and get a little bit of a buy the rumor love, right? It definitely was a good day, and I remember talking about it. I think it was about an 11%, ended around 7. But I remember the interest was there, but man, clearly not enough. And again, today's a big reminder of buy the rumor, sell the news. All right. Number two, it's just there's so much going on around Lunar, right? Around all of these, really. Tech isn't doing very well, right? When we look at NASDAQ is actually now the worst of the three. NASDAQ is significantly lower on the 100. It's actually been 3 days under, and that's a real scary candle after that doji right there on NASDAQ. S&P 500 doesn't look fantastic. It's definitely under the 100, but not as drastically as NASDAQ, which is why I said that one was worse than this. And then Dow Jones, which has been the worst for the longest, right? This was a historic drop right there, let alone the continuation of there, right? All of a sudden, NASDAQ's actually lower than the Dow Jones, respectfully to the moving averages, right? So NASDAQ is the worst one. QQQ looks exactly the same as NASDAQ, right? NVIDIA, which actually has nothing to do with these space tickers, right, is not doing well. And it's really tough when the NASDAQ's not doing well, when NVIDIA's not doing well, for something like Lunar to do well, let alone the rest, right? When we look at Rocket Lab, so the question just came up on the Discord. We just finished talking about it. Why did it tank so hard? And why would it drop below 20, right? My simple answer was guidance, and I'll talk about that shortly. You can actually see it. Oh, excuse me, a little hiccup, right? These numbers up here weren't bad, but the problem is the market cares less about today and more about what you're going to do tomorrow, right? I used to joke about this Eddie Murphy joke. Eddie, what have you done for me lately? From in the caves. I hope you've seen that before, right? But hey, I don't care what you've done for me, right? Like, what are you going to do next? And the problem is they went from saying, I think our revenue is going to be this high to, man, maybe this low, right? So that alone is bad. And then, like I said, there is more. It's compounded with the rest of the tech, like I just kind of said, right? So NASDAQ's not doing well. That's only going to make Rocket Labs do that much worse, right? And again, you can see, sorry, let me zoom out. We're obviously here regular, but that's the actual hurt from the earnings, right? It looks like that was a pretty good support line. It did hold a bit, but hey, I'll talk about more details shortly, right? And then the last one we'll talk about is KULR. So KULR is at a very interesting spot right now. All right. KULR, I talked a lot about this super doji moment right there. We have clearly fallen below it. We clearly have fallen below the 50 moving average. We're now not only at the 100, but we're basically at the horizontal, right? We're at the start of the biggest candle on the takeoff, right? That's where we're at. To me, the more important line's probably here, and I'll talk about that shortly, right? But man, 118 is basically confirming the loss of the 100. 118 is the bottomest, lowest point of that horizontal. And there is such a big green that could be a real fast red, basically losing the 100 and taking it to the 200, right? And I said it so many times, holding this would be very bullish. It would. Probably even that right there, which is essentially where we're at, the 50% candle of the biggest point, right? My goodness, we better not lose that. But again, like I've been echoing across the others, right? It's tough when you're seeing a scary NASDAQ. It's tough when you're just seeing the tech world not do well. That's going to be hard for a little stock like KULR, all right? If I got time, hey, maybe I'll throw in ASTS with the front of them. But look, this thing's been basically just stuck in a bunch bunch of moving averages. That was a beautiful use of the 200 right there. That's technical 101 in my book, right? This is the last, the strongest, the hardest for a reason. It's hard to break up. It's hard to lose down. Beautiful example of that. Right now, though, this green, green, green could be a real quick red, 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 especially seeing what Rocket Lab is doing, especially seeing what Lunar is doing. Again, they're in their own little sector, and that could bring that one down, right? So before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There's a bunch of them. I might start deleting a couple, but there are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. Oh, excuse me, that got caught right there. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Oh, that was a weird breath right there. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So let's talk about Lunar. And look, we've been talking about Lunar on the Discord for a bit, all right? So all of a sudden, we found out that the lunar launch was tomorrow. I'm very thankful for the Twitter community, the X community, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we were ready for it. All right. Now, and I said this yesterday, okay? I was surprised that there wasn't more hype on Lunar. I really was expecting a 30% jump. I really was, all right? Now, I remember saying 11% in the opening thoughts because I remember putting this there yesterday, right? 11% is a real good number. That's a double digit right there. Like that's a good number. And I'm not trying to underplay 11% by any means, but the hype for launch 2 wasn't the same. And let's just take away the percent gains and all that. The launch hype didn't even take us to the 50-day volume average, right? I really don't remember when the first one was. I don't know if it was this. But I know there were moments where there was so much volume on Lunar. It was ridiculous, and it was hard to just ignore the stock, right? All of a sudden, that did not happen again. And look, I actually didn't know this, but this was an interesting zoom out view. Since these volume pops, this was the first one, and obviously these ones were after, we were always over the 50 MA. I almost said this one, right? See, this one more time. This is the first one. This candle right here is already over the red line, right? The 50 MA. This is the first string that we're now under the 50 MA, and it has just gotten that. Oh, hey, we recovered a lot post-market. That's not too bad. Was I looking at that? No, yeah. Oh, it was the other one that popped out hard. Sorry, duh. I'm mixing tickers up, right? But that is an interesting string. And instead of the second launch taking us back over that 50 and kind of taking us back to where it was, all of a sudden we're knocking on the door of this 100 moving average at regular hours. Where did we close? Oh, literally on it to the penny, right? The 100 average, that blue line in the first box is 1440. We closed to the penny at 1440, right? So we didn't lose it. We're not under it, but hey, we're definitely knocking on the door, right? So the extra concern becomes you lose the 100, you come to the 200. That's a steep fall right there. I think what I'll do is I'll lower that to there. And I'm going to delete this one. Look, this 1024, give or take, that's really where that 200 is. And like in a couple days, weeks, whatever, that's probably going to catch up to it. So this line better hold right there if we're going to lose the 100. Otherwise, oh my gosh, right? So let's talk about the good first, because you know I like talking about the good. We must regain 1540. I actually should probably raise that just a little bit. So I think that's 50% of that. And look, that's actually 50% of that. I was using 50% of this, but now I came to a bigger similar candle, right? I really want 1575, all right? We better get back over that, let alone the battle with that. Otherwise, if we lose the 100, 1230 seems like it would be next. If we lose 1230, green, 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 nothing, nothing, nothing could be a continued red, red, red down to basically 970. Again, my line was around 1010, 1020. Again, this line is coming up a little bit, so maybe we'll call it like 10ish, but oh man, we're sitting at 14 something right now, right? So that's a bad MACD. That is a bad divergence. Again, divergence is still two lines going away. We want green going up and away, not diverging down and away, right? I am not liking that RSI. Definitely some green over red, but that's super, super tight. And really, instead of a horizontal super, super tight, we're now downtrend super, super tight. And hey, I know this has been really good for a while, but I also know that this RSI was below 1. All right, this wasn't that long ago. This was June of last year, right? This was a zero point 0.7, and you can see it. It basically lives from 2 to below 1 for most of that month of June right there, right? So this thing has had some trouble before, right? And launch 1 did this thing well, launch 2 did not, and it's really up to the moving averages. And unfortunately, NASDAQ isn't where we want it to be, right? So NASDAQ losing the golden line, NASDAQ coming up to this. Hopefully the 200 will give us a little bit of a bounce, right? We saw that on ASTS. I don't know if you saw it in the opening thoughts, but this lost a bunch, came to the last one and saw a good bounce. Maybe we'll see that, right? But yeah, Lunar really needs some love right there, all right? So from there, we'll move to Rocket Labs, and I think just ending on the NASDAQ's a good place. Look, if you're a stock and you're going to have bad earnings, you definitely are going to expect some issues. You are, right? It is what it is, right? For the earnings to take it at some point down to the 16s, man, that's rough, right? But it's twofold. Number one, like I said in the beginning, market is here to care about what, like, I'm investing today my hard-earned money so that in tomorrow's time, whatever that tomorrow is, your company is better than it was today, and all of a sudden it's better and it's worth more money. When you're telling me, hey, I did really well today, but my guidance for tomorrow is not that good, oh, why am I going to give you another dollar, right? And obviously that magnifies as bigger, more important people than me are trading, right? But that's what guidance means, right? Guidance, I'm telling you, again, watch Eddie Murphy. I think it was on Raw. It might have been on Delirious. I'm pretty sure it was on Raw. Eddie Murphy, in this fictional joke, takes some lady named Umfumfu out of the deepest caves of Africa who had no electricity and nothing, takes her to this beautiful I'm Eddie Murphy mansion, right? And she's still saying, hey, I don't care what have you done for me lately, right? Like, I don't care about yesterday. This is yesterday now, right? Market's closed. We got tomorrow now, right? And you're telling me tomorrow doesn't look good? You know what I mean? So Umfumfu ain't happy, and right now that's the problem. Like that's the marketing happy, right? And again, you add the fact that Nasdaq. I don't know if my wife just laughed at that Umfumfu thing. I'm kind of loud, but yeah, now you add this Nasdaq that looks like this. Let's look at regular hours. It's the exact same candle. Obviously, QQQ looks the exact same. We just talked about Lunar not looking great and Lunar not able to get the launch love and give the sector some love. And now all of a sudden, Rocket Labs has some bad earnings and is losing some supports and is below our golden line and fought like. Those are all not good words. And then you compound the same bad MACD, the same what was a horizontal flat is now a downtrending flat RSI. And look at that volume, right? Like it's just been nowhere near the 50-day line, right? Let alone just not well. So, man, Rocket Labs, believe me, is this let me I'll no one's asked it, but I'm going to answer this. Is this an overreaction to earnings? I don't think so. I think this is what the disappointment of bad guidance looks like, even with solid numbers today. Because again, I'm going to say it one more time. I invest my dollar, even though I'm a swing trader and I'm not really an investor necessarily. Hey, I'm investing my money hoping that the second I bought it, it's actually significantly better a couple seconds after, a couple days after, a couple years after, a couple decades after, whatever your thing is, right? So, man, guidance is key, and then just sprinkle on some bad earnings. Some bad market conditions. I'm gonna throw in ASTS real quick because I think I got enough time to talk about KULR. Look, this was trying to escape this moving average cluster, right? There was a 3 cluster, there was now a 4 cluster. That 3 cluster actually kept going and kept downtrending. The fourth never actually really joined in, right? But it gets to a very strong support line. It's able to just boom, boom, boom and use that 200 well. Last and strongest for a reason on the way up, last and strongest on a reason for the way down, right? And instead of just losing it, oh man, we actually rocketed it, right? And that's a beautiful 50% move, right? You're under 20 and you're actually taking it up to 30. Oh, lovely, right? Right now, though, it's twofold. It's twofold. Actually, threefold. Look at that. So green, green, green could be red, red, red. All right, that's fold number one. That's a pretty good support right there. Those two moving averages, right? Whenever there's two, I call it a cluster. And there's a pretty tight horizontal right there. So maybe there's some good strength right there. I don't know if this was an earnings right here. I guess, yeah, this one. So earnings is expected in one of these next couple weeks. If you know the exact date, that'd be awesome if you can share it with the team. But look, I think to me, what I'm looking at is Rocket Lab number one. Hey, if you bring bad earnings, we see what it looks like. The other one is NVIDIA. And NVIDIA had good earnings, right? It takes it from down here to up here, but then the day brings it down. And man, I don't know if that's going to be the same situation whenever these next earning days pop for ASTS. All right, so I would like this thing if it can get over 31.30. I think that's a real good money line, but oh man, that might be tough to ask. And yeah, for real, I'd start getting scared if this loses 24, because then you're probably going to come down to 20. Better not lose 20 for sure. Did I give Rocket Lab numbers? Look, obviously these are my next lines, and then yeah, this is the next line down is 1350. Believe me, this probably won't be good unless it can get over 27. But hey, if you can start getting yourself over 20, going from 20 to 27 actually could be a good trade. All right, so that's this cluster right here. That's this sector right here, excuse me. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. KULR. Let's talk about KULR. All right, and as I'm looking at this, there's just a couple immediate things coming out, right? I talked about this horizontal moment, and look, some could say it's up here. I went with down here because I think it is a little bit louder to me, but that right there is just so many dojis for so many weeks. And when you compound it with the 50 moving average, that should have done a technical bounce up. It tried. I remember getting excited, right? But hey, I'm never here to overreact up, and this is a big example of why, right? We're not here for a single candle. We need confirmation to believe, right? Let's go to regular hours. From there, yeah, it just came back into the cluster. It loses the horizontal. It loses the 8 and the 20, and then from there, we're down to where we were, right? And then again, you lose the 50, you're going to come to the 100. From there, we're now here. Okay, this is arguably the more important doji line because this one is truly horizontal. This one is the first stretch. I don't know if it's longer than that. That's 3. That's another 4 or 5. That's 3. That's another 4 or 5. Yeah, it's about the same size right there. So look, 125 is a critical line. We basically wicked it. You can see the line right there. The low is 126, right? So to me, 125, and really it's probably just a little bit lower. It's probably right there. 121 is the bottom of that thing, almost the top of that, basically the bottom of that, almost the top of that. I think that's the doji line right there. And 121 really needs to hold. 121 actually needs to bounce us to 160. Because then hopefully we can ride that back to there and then hopefully ride it back to there, right? But at the moment, we're seeing the 8 come down, we're seeing the 20 come down, and eventually, if they don't turn around and we don't see that bounce I just talked about, the 50 will start coming down, right? And that's where we'll death cross the 100 and potentially do this exact same thing one more time, right? So there's a lot on this 121. You know, normally I give more respect to the moving average. It's a computer generated line, right? I think this is the line that matters more. And realistically, losing 120 basically means you've lost the 100. So, in a lot of ways, I'm kind of saying the same thing, anyways, right? So, maybe, like I said, you can raise the line to about there. That's about half of that. That's about the top of that. That's a little closer to the 100. Maybe 130 is that better death line, right? But between 130 and 120, we better see a big bounce on KULR. Otherwise, it might lose the dollar. Because even straight dollar isn't 50% of that. I would say 50% is right around there, and that's basically where the 200 is, right? I'm seeing earnings are sometime in the next 2 weeks. Okay. Hopefully, earnings will be good. Hopefully, there'll be some PR and news before it. But as I'm looking at KULR itself, this first doji moment, right? And we just said it's the same length as this. This first doji moment was strong enough to give us one line. Sorry, one candle that took out three multiple moving averages, right? Oh man, we need the same thing one more time. Hopefully, the fact that it's not as clustered, maybe the one pop can do more. That's really a possibility, right? But right now, it's going to be critical to, at the bare minimum, get back over 150. I'd mentioned 160. Oh, that's 170. Yeah, that's because that's probably going to come down there. Maybe I was guessing what that's going to come down to. But yeah, I would want to get into the 160-ish, 170 range. That'll probably get me over the 8. And then we can hopefully make a move to 2. And then hopefully, like I said, make a move to there, right? At the moment, I think it's going to be really hard to expect this thing to get over the 50. Mainly because almost nothing to do with KULR itself. A lot more because NASDAQ's struggling. And trust me, NASDAQ needs to do well for tech stocks to do well, right? So, KULR, hopefully your earnings will help a bit, but yeah, I feel like honestly, there's more saying I'm gonna come to 90 cents than it is saying 244. All right, I think maybe there's a real chance of a $2 bounce because I think I want to give this little doji moment its respect because I do think it's a strong line. Um, but yeah, I would really more expect the bounce to come here just because the 200 is the stronger line between that and the 100, right? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.